If one of these is not filled out, if like there wasn't an actual outcome, then it would probably not get picked up, is I believe what we're saying.
Yeah, it won't get, yeah.
So why is that a must?
To determine the type, when it's entered on the individualized training and support services touch point, that's to identify the credential that was obtained, the type of outcome that's captured.
You know,
It
I
makes
get
it
that.
official, right? And then the upload is the documentation that backs that up.
It's also in the outcome completion touch point. So we're recording that data in two places. What I'm hearing now is where it's swept is in the individualized service and training and support services touch point. Is that correct?
I think what we're saying is the program completion or outcomes touch point. Is that what we're saying?
Well, that's the same thing. Program completion's outcome is one place, or
Okay.
the service is a second place.
Okay, go ahead, Carrie.
Sorry about that. It's actually all three locations. So if the data has been entered as a service and the outcomes captured on the ITS touch point, that's one way to capture that. If there's nothing there, program completion and outcomes would be looked at next if it falls within the correct time frame, and it would be pulled from there. And then again, through the follow-up period, if they show the credential and the date that it was obtained, then it would be picked up from there. So it's from one of the three locations. It doesn't require duplicate or triplicate data entry to be able to sweep to pick those up.
Does that require a change to this screen? This is our first time running through this. So does that require a change to this, Carrie, to identify that the services screen also is looked at?
No, that's the first bullet, at least, for the individualized training and support service touch points. So these are the three locations where the data
so the actual
can be
outcome,
entered to
okay,
be
it's just
captured
not,
from there.
okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So each one of those three represent based on time when that information is obtained.
So these are all ORs, individual training and support services, or program completion, or follow-up, right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
But whichever one is being used, it has to have the complete data.
Of all of this information. So if you record it on the services screen, it has to have the activity start, the activity end, and the actual outcome.
Right.
If it's on the program completion, it must have those two. If it's on the follow-up, it must have those two, right?
Yes.
Can I ask a question about where the sweep is for measurable skill gain?
Sure, we can go back to that slide.
Okay, well, good. These slides went by pretty quick, by the way.
They did. And we were hoping that you would want to dig in more. So go to the ETO one. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so originally, before the testing and results touch point was built, I had an email to policy and they responded that if a person got a credential, they were automatically counted as a yes in the sweep for a measurable skill gain. But when we were looking at the baseline for measurable skill gains, it looked like you guys were only doing the sweep from the testing touch point. Is the testing touch point the only place that you ever get it? It doesn't have any kind of logic of if you got the credential, obviously you made the skill gain.
Carrie, can you answer that, please?
Yes.
I see it's coming out of the individualized training and support services. So does that mean once you got the credential, you don't have to enter the testing touch point? That's my specific question.
For some of the activities, for the test and results, that's to capture the progress, right? For measurable skill gains as someone obtains those intermittent progresses towards the completion of their education or training program.
Right.
So that is one place we can capture that as test and results. There are specific items that are coming from the individualized training and support service touchpoint that have those elements available. And again, from program completion and outcomes.
So are these ors or are these ands? Do you have to have all three of these or can you have one of these?
They would be or similar to the credential question that we just
Okay.
walked through. However, I do want to emphasize that measurable skill gains is to obtain the progress. So it isn't just to measure them at the start and at the end of those activities, but it is their gains that they make within the progress for the allowable activities for measurable skill gains.
And that would be why the tests and results touch point is emphasized, is because that's where you're going to show progress without an actual income outcome or a type of recognized credential. You can have a progress report, you can have a report card, or you can have the tests and results. But if you're trying to do it on the individualized training or the program completion, you're not going to have that because they've not completed that, but they are making progress. So that is why the test and results touch point comes into play.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that? This is Ismaila Snomish. I think that Melinda's question, I think I'm still confused on the answer. So for those who have completed and we have a touch point, the individualized training support touch point outcome with a credential, we do not need to take a measurable skill gains to get a base. We do not need to take a measurable skill gains touch point anymore. Is that what I'm hearing? Because that's being counted already. So if somebody complete their training, has a credential, they exit with that credential, that means that the measurable skill gains is going to get that also, right? We understand that we need to take it for progress, but what about those who have completed? Do we need to do both?
That is my question. So
Carrie.
I understand the testing and results touch point to measure progress when the activity is lasting 1 or 2 years or 6 months. We do put people in activities and the turnaround is a month. So people will get their CDL in a month, or they're in the last quarter of a training program and they can't make it and we're running in to help them out that last quarter so they're successful. So the turnaround time is really quick. For those individuals, do we have to enter the testing touch point to get the skill gain? It looks like the answer is no, but you're not giving a simple yes or no. You're giving an answer that has a lot of instruction in it. And I'm looking for a yes or no.
These are, go back to that screen, please, Joseph. What we're saying is that these are all ors
Yeah.
unless you want to measure progress for the 1
Okay.
or 2 years, right? The ones that last more than a quarter.
Okay.
So I think this has implications beyond just reporting. Then there may need to be a conversation with compliance teams, because we are being required to enter these measurable skill gains every time somebody gains a measurable skill gain, even if it's a credential. But if we're hearing that it's an or, then why do we have to do that when it's already being counted at the ITSS touchpoint?
Because if you want to measure progress and it's still open through a quarter, you want to do the test and results because you don't have the second and third option yet.
I understand you. I'm not talking about progress. We talk about the example that Melinda gave. We have a training that starts and ends with a credential, and we have an ITSS that was open and closed with that credential. That's what we're talking about in this example. Why do we still need to take a measurable skill gains for them? Because we're not measuring progress. The system is already picking up the measurable skill gains through the credential.
Carrie, do you understand the totality of that question?
Ish, can I, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
Ish, can I clarify real quick? Basically, your use is the high level question, why should we do something manually when it's automatic?
That's correct. For those who already are being counted through the ITSS touchpoint for measurable skill gains, why do we need to still take a measurable skill gains for them?
So technically speaking, from our process for compliance and reporting the Pearl, do you see any issues with that, Carrie? If for some reason they stopped manually entering something?
As I'm trying to process the question, I would prefer if I could take this offline to ensure that we don't provide any misguidance, because not all credentials will meet the intent for measurable skill gains. So I want to make sure that I provide clear information. It still is true. It's not one, it isn't all three have to be done to measure the same measurable skill gain, rather from completion or from during the progress. But I would like to be able to cross-reference the elements and the mapping document to ensure that I'm not misstating anything on the fly, if that's acceptable to the group.
That's great. And also you just said something that I'm hoping you include. If not all credentials are on the hook for measurable skill gain, that's new to me. My understanding was if we put someone in like occupational skills training, 100% of them count for the measurable skill gain. So I'd like more information on which credentials don't count for the measurable skill gain.
Understood. I have made a note of that to include that in our response.
So I can't speak for the group, but I'm fine with that.
Same
We'll
here.
get back to you ASAP. It won't take us a bit. We just need to double check some other documentation. It's a good question.
Oh, well, nobody else is saying anything. Thank you for doing that.
No
Melinda-
problem. That's what we're here for. Technical guidance. That's what we're here.
Hack Mountain also wants the same questions answered, so we're in the same boat.
We'll send it to
Oh.
Dave and Dave can disseminate. Okay,
Okay.
does that work? Okay.
Oh, I thought we were going with the time limit. She had a couple of seconds to add her name and she's outside of that, so she's out of luck now.
Are you being funny, Joseph?
Yes. Trying to lighten up the end of the meeting.
Okay, but we're all pretty serious right now. I like, okay, we're lighten up. Serious stuff. Okay, so we will get back to you as soon as possible. We'll hand it off to Dave. Dave, is that okay with you? He might be gone already.
Yeah, he's gone already.
Okay, we'll send it to Dave. We'll have a conversation with him. He knows everybody in the group and how to get a hold of him, and he can send it out.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? We are here, you know, if you want to send us an email, send it to the system performance distribution list at the end. And we'll answer questions on the side too. We're here to help. Let us know.
Hey everyone, this is Tim. I have one additional question.
Go ahead, please. Yep.
Would it be safe to assume that based on the quarterly reporting that when a service that is subject to measurable skill gains is still open, that we should be having tests and results or progress touch points entered at least once per quarter until
Yes.
the service closes?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought, but just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Yep. Sure. Yep. Absolutely.
I have a question too, as long as I have you people here.
We got a half hour, so we're good. Go ahead.
Okay. When I have my, I tend to rely a lot as a data analyst on networking over time, as you know, I get to know people and things. And when I have special data requests, my tendency has been to just reach out directly to Byron, for instance. Is that still the right way to do things? And does everybody know at the other WDCs that within reason that custom requests are a thing that's possible?
We're getting ourselves out there more and more, and we've got some other items that we have in the works, such as a ticketing system, hopefully that will be a one-stop all that will be available on our website too. But Byron is no longer with us, and we would prefer, he's moved on to the COVID grants. So we would prefer that any and all requests come through that system performance distribution list that's in the chat and also available at the end of this presentation. It's my way of organizing who's going to get what. If it goes directly to any one of the individuals, they've got to send it through me anyway, because I disperse their work to the right person who's got the right amount of time to do it. So we would prefer if they come through our system performance distribution list, and I will take it from there.
Okay, see, I wasn't aware of those changes in process, so I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I speak to this a little bit, Elise, as well? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Brian is
Yeah.
new. Brian has replaced Tracy. He's our new manager.
Hey, everybody. So with respect to kind of ad hoc requests or, specialized reporting or anything like that, I think ultimately we want to create something that is approachable for all of you and also gets us the information we need to create the product and determine if it's within the scope of what we do as a team. So I would definitely align with Elise on using the system performance email. The other thing with regard to the ticketing system, that's, that's a very complex process. So I don't want to overpromise anything to all of you in terms of us having something out in the near future, but it is something we're exploring. So that way it feels the same, no matter how you engage with us, it feels the same for every customer in terms of the quality of service that we're going to provide and the expectations for what a quality request would look like from you. And so that's kind of the end goal from our team perspective. And so that hopefully will, at least clarity around process, to your point, will be out soon in terms of, something to start with. And then we're hoping that will mature over time.
Hi, this is Lisa from North Central, and I'm not sure how to ask this question, but it has to do with what we were just finished talking about, and that's the reliability of, well, ETO in general, but the reports specifically. I really appreciate what you all are doing. I really appreciate the reports that Haley and et al. Are working on around the priority of service. That's our most recent example, but she sent out some great information. I know a lot of areas went to work to reconcile their data with what she sent. And, all we have are the ETO reports. And so we sent our questions back, and Haley did a great job with answering. But one of the things she says, and we all know this now, one of her first things was, we cannot compare Pearl data to the ETO reports. ETO reports were created by the vendor and do not match definitions used on the Pearl. So we know that, but we're still sitting here going, okay, how are we going to understand what we are doing right and doing maybe not right to get our data correct in the system if we don't have correct reports. And we're still not sure. We haven't been able to double back and look through the information, but we don't have individual records to compare. I guess we're still in the dark. This is all great information, and you have reviewed a lot of information most of us are familiar with and made some clarifications, but I still feel like I'm not sure where to go to get accurate information. I know you can't be providing ongoing reports weekly, daily. I mean, we do a lot of data analysis, and I feel like we're analyzing, incorrect data, which we are. So I guess I just want to ask what you guys suggest. We're still having trouble.
Well, let me clarify with the ETO reports. They are not necessarily wrong. We're not saying they're wrong. There are just some Pearl definitions that are defined by Pearl guidance from DOL, such as what is a veteran. A lot of the demographic information, has specific definitions of how that's decided. And we weren't involved in the building of those reports. So some of that we can't guarantee follows theoretically how the Pearl pulls specific areas of data. But they are good for what is an ETO. I mean, so that they are good for identifying where you're missing data or where work needs to be done. So they're not wrong or not useful. Just some of the information is not thoroughly built on what we call Pearl definitions. So sometimes you can't compare them, but they are hopefully correct in pulling the data out of ETO. Some of the reasons things can't be compared is because of ETO not requiring certain specific Perl required elements. And that's where the glitch is. But we're working on that. We have a create a record and ETO enhancement out that's going to help fix that. And we're on a mission to do a quality assurance of the Perl and ETO and a Perl validation. Those are all major things in the works.
Yeah, so on the creator record and the Perl validation work, those things are just kicking off. And so I don't want to overpromise to the group
They need to know that they're in the
Sure,
works.
I understand. I don't want to overpromise to all of you in terms of where that's at in terms of progress. It's just starting. But as that moves forward, all the necessary stakeholders will be engaged with and informed with regard to both of those efforts. Who asked the question? I'm sorry. Who was the
Lisa Romine from North Central.
Hi, Lisa. Can I just ask a clarifying question
Please.
on that? What problem are you trying to solve?
Oh, many problems.
Okay. But that opened up a can of worms, huh?
No, I shouldn't say that. I might be overreacting there. Clearly, well, I'll just speak for us. Credentials and MSGs are the ones we feel like we're still in the dark. We're learning more, and that's great. We're learning. But I think employment and earnings, those I'm less concerned about because we know where that data comes from.
Sure.
It's the measurable skill gains and credentials that we're still unclear as to if we're entering data right or if we're missing something. And I know we are in the middle of figuring all that out, and this is part of that.
Sure. And there's and the end of the road is there's an impact to you if you don't have that data right. Correct.
Absolutely. And we're getting closer and closer to the time where sanctions will come into play and all of that. So we're getting even more,
Okay.
concerned.
So I have a proposal to the group with respect to what Lisa brought up, and then just anything else that you want to know with regard to measurable skill gains. If you can just email those to our system performance email, and then what we might do is set up another information session based off of those questions and or develop some kind of FAQ to send out to you. Does that work as kind of a next step?
I think so. I think I think that's a great idea. We can just continue to funnel questions to you all. And again, I just want to say this has been helpful, but I think we need to go deeper. And I know you guys are doing tons of work to get this cleared up, so I appreciate it. But we still have unanswered questions.
I'm sorry, I understand everything, but send the questions to
the system performance email. I put it in the chat,
yeah,
and
that
will allow us to do our due diligence, versus trying to answer on the fly in the meeting. And that'll give you some time to maybe, survey your stakeholders internally within your organizations in terms of this particular subject, and then we can, take some time to write a thoughtful response, and or if we want further clarification, we can follow up with you directly, and then ultimately that might inform another information session and or some kind of FAQ that can go out to this group.
And I think too, once Haley, you all send out the new report that shows current individuals with maybe missing data, that's gonna, I think, shed a lot of light on some of our questions. So we're looking forward to that. But and then I'm guessing we'll have a lot, more questions after we see that data.
And just to set, expectations clearly, like if it's out of scope of our team to respond to, we'll at least get you to the right person who can answer your question. So that, we may not be able to answer every question, but I think cataloging them and capturing them will allow us to sort and then get you connected to the right source to answer your question. And that's, from a customer service perspective, that's our end goal.
So Brian, this is Rod Van Allen. I'm the director with Eastern Washington Partnership.
Hey Rod, long time no talk. How are you?
Yeah, good. I think Lisa's point though about, so we're bound by ETO, and yet the outcomes that impact us and at some point sanctions will be in play. It's not the best tool to pull that data. And I mean, that right there in a nutshell has to be fixed. And I
Mhm.
just hope that, you know,
Yeah.
as we look at a replacement or modifications, that your voice with the Pearl data alone has to
Mhm.
drive some of that discussion. And
Mhm.
I'm hopeful that that's going to be the direction we're headed.
Yeah, I will. I just want to be careful to not overpromise anything, but at the same time validate, you know, the concerns that I not only experienced, you know, when I was an administrator out in the field, but also with respect to my teams, you know, want to produce, you know, quality report and data, quality Pearl report and the data that informs that. So to what Elisa's point earlier was, as I think that there's work beginning on that. And the hope is to have some information on where that's at to everybody that's, you know, impacted by the Pearl and the data that's connected to that within ETO. I would just continue to escalate your concerns around this through, I guess that would be through Sandra, and or potentially Jairus from the EC perspective. I don't know if that would be the proper channel for you, but I would continue to escalate those concerns. I know that it's a priority for us as well. It impacts the work that we do as well. So I think that's there's a shared impact there, and it is a priority for us. I just don't have you know, the information that would be worthwhile to share for you at this point in terms of where things are at on progressing down a path of quality data. My hope is to have that soon. I just to you know, share with everybody on the group. I'm in my 3rd week here in this role, and so you know, my intention is absolutely to be, and our team's intention is to be transparent with this group on where things are at, and you know, have open lines of communication with all of you. And so, yes, we're asking you to send your questions and your feedback and concerns, all of that to the system performance team. We want to hear it all. But if you ever want to just reach out to me directly, I'm happy to set up time with you to chat through some of these concerns. But I, in my short time here, I'm definitely aware that, you know, the data and the quality of it needs to be addressed and prioritized.
Yeah. This is Vince Keeter again at Pack Mountain. The other, again, and I think it's funny, a primary care doctor once said that, you know, there's one habit that kind of that I have that might be problematic, which is an oh by the way thing. As long as I have you here, but I think as long as you guys are here, I think this is also kind of important for you to know, or an ongoing problem too, is that I'm often wanting to extract data for you know, that I can use for further analysis in a variety of ways. And the way that ETO operates and is set up now makes that extraordinarily difficult. So in addition to the data quality issues that we encounter, there are also just software and infrastructural issues which create great barriers. The fact that you can only extract a certain amount of information before the system times out trying to retrieve it is extremely frustrating. You know?
Yeah, and I hear you, and I've heard this perspective and this. I say story not to invalidate what you say, but more so it's like stories carry on, right? They live within the world that we all engage in on a daily basis, and that's the story that I hear regularly. And so, with that in mind, I would absolutely encourage you to share that type of feedback as well with our system performance email. And my team's probably like, oh, Brian, but we will make sure we get that information to the right folks. I would say from a product perspective and technology adjustments with regard to the system, That's definitely outside of the scope of our team, but we will make sure we get that feedback to the right folks.
That'd be great, because I mean, it's just so hard to, and I understand that too, but yeah, maybe we can form a coalition together or something, because if you can't, even if the data quality is good, if you can't, if you can't use the system, it's problematic, so.
I appreciate you sharing that feedback and the perspective.
Can I ask a really quick question? Not that I'm not willing to email it out, but just something maybe for some clarification really quick.
Of course, we have a whole 10 minutes.
Oh, there you go.
So
This
go
shouldn't
for it.
take that long. This is Lucy from Olympic WDC. I'm actually curious about the dashboard. Elise had mentioned that you guys were working towards a new dashboard. So I'm trying to place this all in my head and categorize everything. Is the new dashboard going to try to encompass the issues so that we can see the reporting and the data in the Pearl, like from UTO to the Pearl, versus this dashboard that's pulling from all of these other places? I'm just trying to figure out where the dashboard is in line with all of this.
That is a Elise and team question.
The new dashboard, this is a dream now. And again, it's all in the works. So more information, stable information will be coming out later. The new dashboard, what we're doing is we're building a reporting layer. And it's going to be built, the table, if you're technical, the table structure of that reporting layer is going to have Perl definitions built into it, so that when we pull our queries are very simple. We don't have to define all the definitions of what we're pulling. So saying that, the first thing we're going to do is try and we're going to pull a Perl, right? And then we're going to analyze it, and we're going to validate it, and we're going to do a quality assurance on it compared to ETO. The second phase of the project, phase 2, is to put a front end on that reporting layer, a user interface where you can go and interact with it like the current dashboard, and you will be able to slice and dice it any way you want, and it will be built off of Perl definitions. And so you'll have comparable data to what the Perl is. You'll be able to pull real-time data within a quarter to know where you're at in order to make changes that will affect the new and upcoming Perl. That is our dream, is to get a reporting layer. Whether we go to a new application or not, this is still going to be in place. We'll just connect to a different application. So it's a long-term solution for system performance to offer a reporting layer that is something that I've got 14 years with the agency, and ever since I've been around, everybody says, I want to be able to slice and dice the Perl. That is exactly what this new performance, system performance dashboard will do. You will be able to slice and dice the Perl. Now, who knows what kind of issues we might run into along the way, or things. It's still in the works, but that is the dream that we have built, that we're asking for help with, is to build a front end where you slice and dice the Perl in the middle of a quarter to affect the upcoming quarter's numbers.
And I
So that's
just
my follow-up
want
question. Oh, go ahead.
just want to set some clear expectations around this, though. I would imagine hearing that is really exciting, and you're going to want to go shout it to the world. I just, again, don't want to overpromise anything that this is going to be turned around quickly. It's something that
It's a major project. Yes.
We're also just in the initiation phase of kind of exploring this and doing our necessary define work, which may include, gathering some requirements from all of you in the development of this. But I just want to make sure that the expectations are set that the turnaround on this type of a product could take some time. So just making sure that that's very clearly articulated to all of you.
Yeah, I want to second that too. That this is Kevin with System Performance. We're really at the beginning part of it, and the ultimate tool that we do release may look different than what we're conceptualizing now, but we're going to do our best to make sure that it's understandable and easy to use either way.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Again, it is a long-term project, so, but we want to give you hope is what we're trying to give you is hope that, you know, things take a long time, anything that's major, you know that, and this is one of those, it's going to take a while to do it right. So, but we're trying to give you hope and help you realize that we do understand and take in deeply your concerns for where you're at. And we are deeply trying to address that. So we're trying here. That it? Anything else? Again, you can email us. So, feel free to reach out to that system performance distribution list. And like Brian said, if it is outside of our scope, we will make sure to get you to the right people. Those ETO reports are out of our scope. We haven't had anything to do with them. So there are others that can tell you more about them and the problem that they time out, which is an ongoing problem. We'll get you some help there. Anything else? Is that it?
I just had a question about Vince's question about the slice and dice, but not with downloading restrictions. What do you mean exactly by that, Vince?
You'll be able to download. You'll be able to put it in any format you want to put it in.
Okay, no, that's good because sometimes in Tableau, it is possible, and sometimes people often do set up their dashboards because sometimes I don't want a PDF of the screen result. I actually want the data.
There's a lot of you out there. We're going to make sure you're covered.
Yeah, well, and we'll have to work within the system for the correct tool to use for that. And then we'll also have to be wary of, the appropriate data share elements that we can actually share.
Yeah, definitely need to take that into consideration, but it will be available for partners.
Yep, that's just keep remembering we're partners. That's great.
Oh, we got you. We got you covered. You're in our thoughts all the time. Trust me, we don't forget you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close it down. Then I don't hear anything else. And feel free again to reach out.